It's Wednesday, June 18th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art Arts Festival 2008. Let's do this. So you know Frank Miller, the
I know him personally, in fact.
Sin City 300, Dark Knight Returns, famous comic writer. Everyone knows who he is now, right? Even if you didn't know who he was a few years ago. Anyway.
Actually, it's funny because Ananth was reading The Prince of Nothing at our recommendation, and his question to me after he'd gotten a little bit into it was, all right, I've only met one woman in this book so far, and I gotta ask you, is this guy pulling a Frank Miller?
No.
My answer was not all the way.
No, not all. Anyway. So, Frank Miller, people always talk about his famous works, and one of his most famous works is Frank Miller's Daredevil. And it's not, he didn't invent Daredevil. Daredevil existed for a long time before Frank Miller did it. But, it's his run, from this issue to this issue was when Frank Miller was working on it, right? So you can actually buy all of these issues in one giant book for like $100. But I was like, fuck that shit. You could also buy in 3 separate trades, but those trades are sort of out of print and old, but I managed to get them from some guy, so I'm all right. So I'm reading these, and the first trade, I didn't realize, is when Frank Miller was doing the art, but not the writing, and it's pretty much Stan Lee style, and it's not Stan Lee, but it's Stan Lee style, and you've got I hit you, you little guy, you've got narrations, you've got all that business,
Nothing's
right?
worse than I hit you, you little guy, with the picture of the guy hitting the little guy.
Yeah. The second and third trades, I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, but you can definitely see it's really cool because you see this transformation. Like the first Frank Miller issue where he writes it is still pretty Stan Lee-erific. It's not as much as the ones before it, but it's still pretty heavy on there. Then it just keeps going more and more and more towards, the Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller that you know. And then when you start to get to like the end of the second trade, it's like the second to last issue, and that second trade is like, ah, yeah. And then the third trade is sort of like, he wraps it up. So Daredevil, if people don't know out there, because he's not super popular like Spider-Man, but I guess there was a movie, right? Anyway, Daredevil's about this blind lawyer who kicks people's asses, right? I'm on the train today, reading the third trade, wrapping it up. I finished it. And sitting across from me, blind dude.
Huh.
And what was really cool is he had this Braille machine. It was a really fascinating machine, and it was quite amazing how fast he could operate this machine and read the Brailles, I gotta say. I want to get me one of those machines. I don't know why. It was a really fascinating machine.
So that's oh man, I got something to talk about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
oh man.
I think about that. You're reading a comic about a blind guy who can't see that you're reading a comic about a blind guy, and there's a blind guy.
I don't know. It's not that far out of the realm.
Hey, he had a really cool machine. I'm gonna go figure out what that machine was and how it worked.
It's a Braille machine.
I know, but it was weird because it had these buttons up top, but it just had 9 buttons up top, and it wasn't like a keyboard, but it's somehow he knew which ones to push. They were unlabeled. I guess it didn't matter if they were labeled or not, But, it was just buttons sort of arranged up there, and I was like, how did those work? And the thing switched up the Braille so quickly. It was like, I really want to know, sort of how it worked and what the principle behind it was and how it functioned.
Well, you know what it's probably a lot like? I mean, I've heard there are these machines you can have with you if you're not blind, if you can see, that will use electricity to change the arrangement of pixels, right? To show letters, and it'll change those letters. It's kind of cryptic, but if you get used to all these letters in order, you can read stuff.
Oh, wait, here we go. The 9-key Braille machine on Flickr. So I guess that's let's see if that's... Okay, that's a really old-fashioned machine,
okay.
But I'm betting the machine he had was... based on a similar principle.
Okay, I imagine your thing of the day at some point in the near future is going to be the Braille machine once you learn about it and find a video.
I'm sure there's probably someone out there. I mean, blind people can listen to podcasts. Sorry, deaf people. And perhaps someone out there is blind and will tell us all about awesome Braille machines. It had a compact flash card and stuff in it. It was definitely something cool going on. I couldn't figure it out, though. And he was really fast.
All right. So I'm going to pretty much jump right into my news because this is one of those. The internet had a tempest in a teapot about it. And mostly I just
Wait, internet? Teapots?
People losing their shit on the internet?
Their shit lost? I mean, if I had a penny for all the shit lost, I would not have to work.
Well, that wasn't quite true because if you had a penny for all of it, then you'd have a penny.
If I had one penny for each shit that was lost.
Anyway, so Otakon, pretty much the biggest and best anime convention that's run by fans in America. It's my favorite con. Lately, I've been saying that to a lot of the staffers of cons, but no, Otakon is my favorite con.
I don't know. I don't think I have a con that is like the favorite con period.
I should qualify that.
I have cons that are favorite in different ways.
Katsucon is my favorite be staff at it con. Kineticon is my favorite. Let's go do a bunch of panels with very little planning con. Otakon is my favorite being at it for the entire weekend con. Partly because it's followed directly by.
I haven't been to it yet, but I'm feeling PAX is going to be my favorite be at it for the weekend.
I haven't
con.
been at PAX yet.
I know.
Plus, Otakon has the promise of shore afterward. PAX has the promise.
But that's not something you can attribute to Otakon.
Oh, I very much can.
No,
and do.
You can't.
It's been so many years. I mean, from the day.
That's
so
like if
many
I
years
said
ago,
PAX is great because there's a Space Needle nearby. It's like, no.
When we conceived the Week of Awesome, called it that immediately, and then went forth and did it. The Week of Awesome is a week of awesome.
I didn't say it wasn't a week of awesome, but the people at Otakon and the Otakon convention itself has nothing to do with that. They should not, as much credit as they deserve, they do not deserve credit for it being awesome to go to a beach.
All right, they deserve credit for at least one. I mean, remember, I'm
they
not
did not
talking
invent
about
the beach.
I did not say it is the best. It is my favorite con. My favorite con can have all sorts of factors, like whether or not it was Tuesday.
I guess, but even so,
Man, a con on Tuesday.
you're judging which con is your favorite based on non-convention factors.
Well, no, based on the overall experience that I'm at Otakon, and Sunday at Otakon.
That's like if I said, "Oh, Mario is my favorite game because it came out on a Tuesday."
But think of this: Sunday at Otakon, if you're not going to the beach for a week afterward, is kind of this. Back to work tomorrow. But if you're going to the beach after it, it's I'm going to the beach.
But anyway, I think I've made my point.
All right, so Otakon is pretty much this year, they've changed up a lot about the way they handle panels. And the submission deadline for panels came and went. They had a nice web form, and all the rules were pretty clear and cut and dry. And a little while ago, they started sending out their acceptance notices.
Did they send out no notices?
They also started sending out their rejection notices.
I wouldn't have sent out rejection notices. I would have put one notice on the website saying, we sent out all the acceptances. If you didn't get one, you're rejected.
This is probably a better way because, one, that now people who don't get a notification, because I think some of this, I mean, I don't have a lot of transparency into the system this time around, but what if someone doesn't accept, like, all right, we've accepted your panel, then they decide not to do it or something. They don't confirm that they're going to do it. So you kind of, once you send an acceptance, it is confirmed. But you can at least send to all the people that you're definitely not going to let do a panel. Hey, you're not going to do a panel. Better luck next year. Now, they sent a nice, concise little email. And there's a little bit of that explosion that I kind of expected on the Otakon forums. Not nearly as much as I guess I kind of hoped for, just because
you love a hubbub.
I love internet hubbub. I love watching people just go crazy on the internet because there's nothing they can do.
You're basically trolling by proxy in that case because someone else did something that will get other people riled up, and you're like a troll spectator in a way.
Well,
but they're not even trying to get the reaction. It's like someone is going to do something that is not trolling, but will have a trollish effect, and you just can't wait to see it happen. Because it's like trolling when someone did it for you and they're not a troll.
But anyway, the story here is that Otakon received about 175 applications.
That's not bad because they have close to that many panels, right?
They're only going to have 70 panels.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good percentage.
Little less than half.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the New York. I forget it was the Comic-Con of the Anime Festival. They had like 200 something panels. It was crazy.
Yeah, however, most of them were pretty bad.
Most of them were pretty bad. But
anyway, Otakon, they're really changing it up. They're trying to make the panels better, raise the quality, make them more academic, make them more relevant, get rid of the lame panels. Don't keep a panel just because it's tradition to have this panel. And as a result, there wasn't the general outcry of a million people saying, oh, I didn't get my panel. But I've seen a lot of here and there internet hubbub from specific people who kind of felt entitled to a panel that didn't get their panel. Allow me to read an excerpt from the Otakon forums.
Oh, excerpts are excellent because now no one can say, oh, you're just making stuff up or whatever. All right.
Frankly, I am a bit upset. I'm part of a group that has run the digital fan subbing panel at Otakon every year since 2002. It's funny, that's actually the first year we ever did a panel.
Yeah.
We have a 6-year uninterrupted streak, and you're rejecting the panel application this year?
Actually, that's probably a good reason to reject because then now I'll
We've
get some
grown
variety.
in attendance every year. Now, this is when it gets, ever since Sam Dang moved on from panels, we've had nothing but problems. This is an outrage. I can't believe this is how you treat the people who've literally helped build Otakon into what it is. Who can I talk to about an appeal? Now the answer to appeal was basically no. And then this wonderful follow-up was posted. That being said, of course, the panel has evolved tremendously over the years, along with the evolution of digital fan subbing. Digital fan subbing, and therefore piracy, is the #1 issue the anime industry is facing in this day and age. To not have a panel dedicated to it puts you in league with Anime Expo, which is not a con one would imagine you'd want to be associated with. We were actually planning on having a panel discussion with members from the industry attending and discussing the issues with the very experienced and influential fan subbers participating. I'm certain your convention is making a mistake by not tackling this issue. If there's an explanation for why it was rejected, I'd like to hear it. Thanks.
So is there an explanation?
Oh, are there explanations?
All right, you gonna read
Of course,
this?
the man, Jim Vowles.
Oh, the man.
You might know him as Alabaster in the forums, but I don't want to. I use the word favorite a lot so far today. You know, this is my favorite con, whatever. I think Jim Vowles is my favorite con staffer in the entire history of con staffers.
I'll agree with that.
Guy's got
But he
some,
didn't invent the beach.
No,
But he did a lot else.
He might have. I want to read his statement because it pretty much sums up everything that is good about what Otakon is doing with panels this year. Quoth Alabaster, aka Jim Vowles. One very good thing that's come out of the last few years is that we are seriously looking at balancing fan panels with more, for want of a better word, serious academic panels. Meatier subjects, tighter presentation, more credible panel leaders, these are all in the mix. In the past, we've been criticized, rightly, for having too many of the Why Show XYZ Rocks panels. I point out that we have been sending emails about this for the last couple of years. I wonder if we were one of the prodding efforts here. Anyway, to continue. Quote, I've attended some of these myself, though not at Otakon. There are few things more frustrating than being a far more qualified and informed person than the panelist on stage. I've had that happen to me on occasion, usually for Doctor Who related panels.
Bringing in the Doctor Who. That's definitely Jim Vowles, not an imposter.
And you don't need 3 panels on the same general Why Ninjas Beat Pirates nonsense.
That's true also.
We have the ability to pick and choose, and we are trying to build for diversity as much as anything. Lacking any other context, here's what I would rationally assume. This is referring to someone asking why their panel wasn't accepted. Pretty much in response to the wonderful person above. 1. There was a better, similar panel on offer from another panelist. Popular topics get a lot of submissions. Yours might not have been the best. Number 2. The subject matter wasn't relevant to the con's mission. Ninjas versus pirates is rather pointless, to use a silly example, and not particularly relevant outside of a discussion of One Piece. Internet memes, for example, are a waste of convention time and resources. I'll bet there's not going to be a 4chan panel.
Those are best kept to the hallways, which is where they belong. And in fact, if not having them in the panels means more in the hallways, I'm all for it. Because hallway enjoyment of the memes is one of the pleasures of the Otakon.
3. Your subject matter may have been deemed inappropriate or simply done to death. A why furries suck and why you should hate them panel, for example, is unlikely to get much traction.
I think that's the one we're going here, is the done to death, as in there's a fan sub panel at every con. I mean, he himself said there's been one at Otakon for 6 years. Do we really need to have the same panel every single year?
Subs versus dubs isn't worth arguing about anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, but to go one step further, a lot of people were asking, and somewhat earnestly, why wasn't my panel submitted? Why didn't I get my panel? Oh my god, what do I need to do better? And Meredith, the head of panels, who was also the head of panels last year, and did a pretty damn good job considering the circumstances surrounding the panel situation last year at Otakon.
Yep.
Quote, be professional, not only in your application, but in all of your dealings with the panel staff. We hold the department to very high standards, both staff-wise
Well,
and
actually,
panelist-wise.
despite your tone of voice, that forum post by the person was moderately professional.
Which one?
The one you read about the fan subbing.
He had more to say.
Oh, okay.
And remember, basically it was, he said this. People responded. He said it again with a little more, blah, 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 Anime Expo.
Oh, okay.
Someone else
Yeah,
posted.
the Anime Expo bit was an unprofessional bit right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there were more similar discussions about
That's
this.
a very fanboy thing to say.
Plus, I'll point out, this is also posted from, I believe, Meredith from the staff. I wish I didn't have to say this, but please do not ask people to email us with requests to put your panel back on the schedule. The I wish I didn't have to say this leads me to believe that a lot of people whose panels were not allowed or not accepted are getting all their friends to email the panels people and bother them. I can't confirm that. I'm reading into this statement.
Yeah, that is super unprofessional to be doing shit like that.
Plus, honestly, looking at most of the people, like just on the internet on average, all the blog posts and people talking about how their panel was rejected and what an outrage it was, did not look like the most confident or together panel producing people.
Yeah. I'll use this to give a tiny lesson in professionalism from Scott. He who accepts no as an answer gracefully is much more likely to receive an answer of yes.
But I think much more important is he who spells words right and responds
correctly
to goddamn emails.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Are you done with your whatever?
I'm pretty much done with it because the end result is that Otakon is doing a big shakeup, and it looks like they've gotten rid of a lot of panels that have kind of been around for a long time for no real good reason other than the fact that they've been around for a long time. I mean, as far as I can tell, I don't think there's going to be an Anime Club Summit this year. I don't think there are going to be any podcasting panels, which is probably good.
I mean, if I had an anime convention, if I was running one, I would not repeat any panel unless I felt that there was something new that was going to be said. Like if I had, history of Gynax. If I had history of Gynax panel last year, why would I have it this year? Has anything significantly changed in the history of Gynax in the past year? Do we really need to do the same thing again? No, we could do something new. So, even though that's a good panel, probably not 2 years in a row. In fact, once ever. And there's something to be said for, different people would go to it, and whatnot, but not the immediate next year, maybe a few years from now or something. Maybe you could switch it up, do History of Miyazawa Studio Ghibli instead.
See, the thing is, just basing my experiences at, I don't know, the dozens and dozens of anime cons I've been to for all these years, the majority of panels not talking about Otakon, but in general, are usually pretty bad. And Otakon is they're so rarely in the situation where they have such a wide group of people from whom to choose panels that there's no excuse for Otakon not to have the best of the best that the fans have to offer. And this year, with this shakeup and the way they're changing everything, I think these are going to be the best panels Otakon has ever had. And I don't think it's going to be amazing. I think it's just going to be a major improvement.
Yep.
After one more year of this, because remember, as we learned last year, they're keeping a lot more track of who goes to what panels and how well they were received and how professional the panelists were and all that business. I think
sadly, a lot of who goes to what panel doesn't have anything to do with how good the panel is. It has to do with the time, place, and title of the panel. That's pretty much those three things combined are what determines panel attendance.
Oh, yeah, but at the same time, you can normalize the data based on, like, if you know the average attendance of a given generic Friday morning panel, then you can say, well, this Friday morning panel, that normally Friday morning panels get 50 people. This one got 300 and there was a line out the door.
Yep. Another thing I would do is if I was running a convention, you can't really change the times so much or the rooms, but because there's always going to be, a panel at every time in every room, supposedly. But I would move the better titled panels to the less trafficked hours to sort of even it out. Maybe someone, if I put this really popular panel at the really good time, it'll be stupid full. It's much better to put that at the really shitty time where it'll be normal full, and then a less popular panel, but not a shitty panel because we don't have any shitty panels, a less popular panel at the really good time, and then people would go to it because of the time. You see? And
But I just feel like this year's Otakon, in a lot of ways, is going to transcend all previous Otakons. There's a lot of indications, like a lot of things have changed, a lot of subtle things.
Yep.
And this panels thing is, it's going to be a big deal. I think after this year and after we see how well this works, starting in 2009, I think Otakon's panels are going to blow you out of the fucking water.
Yeah, for better or for worse, because, you know, who knows? I give mad props to anyone who actually has the balls to try to stir shit up. I mean, stuff doesn't get better unless you change it. And whenever you change anything, people will always get upset because they don't like change. If someone has the balls to say, screw you, I'm changing it, even if it turns out poorly, I give them the props anyway because they had the balls to change despite change always being unpopular. Change is always unpopular.
I mean, a good example was that Anime Club Summit, whatever, that, you know, we were on since, 2002 at Otakon?
Yep.
And then one year, randomly, we were like, all right, we've done this panel forever. We're running at Kineticon. Let's completely change it up. And it turned into this completely different panel that I think was 1,000 times better format-wise.
Yep. All right, you done?
I think I'm done. Though I'm not going to announce it yet until we know the time, but I will say, yes, we're doing a panel at Otakon in case all our listeners were wondering. I don't think it was the strongest of the, 11 or 12 we offered to Otakon, but I think it'll go over really well.
Yep. All right, so check this. I'm going to explain this a little bit because I'm sure some people out there still don't understand this, but when you buy comic books in the US, you buy, usually one issue or a trade of a single title. So if Naruto was an American comic book, every month you'd buy an issue of Naruto, and then every few months you would buy a book of Naruto that has a whole bunch of the previous, 5 or 6 issues in it, right? In Japan, it sort of works differently. They have these anthology magazines. They're magazines, but they're big. So you would subscribe to Shonen Jump, and every week Shonen Jump would come in the mail, or you could buy it in the newsstand every week. And in one Shonen Jump, you would get one issue of Dragon Ball, one issue of Naruto, one issue of One Piece, an issue of Death Note, etc., right? Depending on which ones were in there that week, because not every single one is in there every week. And then eventually, when there's enough issues of Shonen Jump, they print the ones that we read, the manga that we read in the US, which are the tankobon, which is, we're just going to take the last, 6 chapters of Death Note and put them in one book. So the problem here is that even though people might know a lot of manga titles, right, and you might know, where certain ones were originally published, it's sort of hard. It's like, okay, there's this manga title. Which one of these magazines was it originally in? Which chapters were in which magazines? And there are a lot of magazines, like a lot. And over the course of history, many of them have come and gone. And it's quite difficult to sort this whole thing out. Even on Wikipedias and anime news networks, this sort of information is very, very, very incomplete. But apparently, they have launched in Japan the post-war Japanese shonen and shoujo magazine database. It has listings for 1,221 magazines. And there's 2 parts. There's the era of post-war shonen and shoujo magazines, monthly magazines, and there's the weekly magazines. And it's pretty awesome because now we have the most full database of which mangas were published where and when that has ever existed. And this is going to be totally awesome and cool. And they need something like this for American comics because for American comics, pretty much, you can get a lot of information, but there's still no really super complete databases. I mean, there's some sites that are working on it, like Comic Book DB, but that's sort of like the Wikipedia of comic books. It's all human edited, and there's nothing that's super, super complete like this thing is. So, I don't know. Very cool, I say. Plus, 1,221 magazines, I can only name about maybe 20 magazines if I try really hard. So the fact that there were 1,221, that's pretty fantastic.
Oh, there's actually one more thing I should really talk about before we get into things of the day.
All right.
So just so you're all aware, Inu Yasha is ending.
Wait, the manga, the anime?
The manga. It's going
Is the anime
to
over?
end. I don't know. I stopped watching it after 6 episodes.
I started watching after 1 episode.
I actually really liked it. The problem was it just, it's Rumiko Takahashi. It goes on forever.
Yeah.
And I've already seen enough of her. But yeah, it's actually going to end. I'm probably going to pick up the last volume of it just to see
Wait,
how it
end
ended.
in English or end in Japan?
And in Japan,
Oh, okay.
obviously.
All
It
right.
wouldn't be news that it's going to end in English because that would mean that we already
Well,
knew.
it could be the last English manga volume is coming out soon. That's a news.
But we would have already known then. Someone would have already announced, like they are now, that hey, it's ending in Japan. Oh snap.
I guess we might have missed it though. Anyway.
So things of the day. I don't have much here. I got kind of a reserve thing today I'm saving for a rainy day, but I want to get right into MoCCA. So Emily showed me this opener to a TV series called Wakfu. And apparently Wakfu is a video game, some sort of tactical MMO. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but it's reminiscent of way back when we saw something called Eretz Vaju. We found this video online. And we thought that it was an anime. And back then, when we hadn't seen that much anime yet, and especially when we had enough time to watch every anime we came across, the opener looked like, oh man, this show's gonna be awesome. And we looked for it, and we looked for it, and then a long time later, someone was like, oh yeah, that was a shitty fighting game. That wasn't a show. And we were like, well, was there a show based on the game? No.
Yeah, mostly the awesomeness of Eretz Vaju is not actually what was in the video, but the music to the opener there.
That was a damn good song.
It's still a damn good song.
So yeah, I'll link to that if I can find it. But anyway, this instills a slightly similar feeling in me, except this time it actually is a TV series. It's a trailer.
Oh, good.
It's very fighty, but unlike the kind of fighting shows I hate, there's a small chance that it's fighty in there are choreographed fights that end and take less than an episode.
That's the only kind of fight I can tolerate, pretty much.
Yeah, but imagine if there were, like, if Naruto had been otherwise the same, except no fight, and if there was a tournament, then the entire tournament lasted longer than 15 minutes.
Then the show would only be like 5 episodes.
Yeah, but it would have been a great 5 episodes.
It sure would have been.
There would have been more characters talking to each other in a context outside of, ah! Anyway,
Yeah, that's all I got.
that's all I got.
All right, so you probably know this. All my things today are things you probably know, and then elaborating on them. But Japan is the land of vending machines. Good God, are they loaded with the vending machines of all shapes and sizes?
I wish we had vending machines like that. I want to get coffee from a vending machine.
Yep. But
Well,
anyway,
canned coffee, not coffee in a styrofoam
there are
cup.
you can get crazy things in vending machines. You can get normal things from crazy vending machines. You get crazy things from crazy vending machines. Japan is vending machine crazy. And some guy went to Vendex, which is the vending machine convention in Japan. And he brought back a bunch of pictures of crazy shit that's going down there. And that's my thing of the day. And he also sort of talks a little bit about the history of vending machines in Japan, which is also cool. But yeah, check out the crazy Japanese vending machines. Oh my God.
It's pretty hot.
Yeah, it is pretty hot. All right, so 2 weeks ago, because we haven't been doing Geek Nights every week like we used to, we went to the MoCCA Art Festival, which is not a coffee art festival. It is the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art Festival. And no, that is not redundant.
Well, the thing is, most people, when they say, like, people don't seem to realize that MoCCA is a thing independent
Yes.
of the MoCCA Festival.
Yep. The MoCCA is a museum. It is the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art. It is in New York. It is very close to my work. You should go there at least once, but usually you want to go there depending on what exhibition they have. I mean, it's not really a big museum. Even though they do have a lot of material, it's not always all out, but whatever. They are a very good museum despite having very little physical space. And every year they make most of their money by having an art festival, which is perhaps one of the best comic conventions on earth. And it's in New York, and we've been there the past 3 or 4 years, I think. I don't even remember. I think this was the 3rd or 4th. I can't remember. Anyway, and it is awesome, and awesome things go down there. And it really seems like every year you go to the MoCCA, and it's always the same but different. It's like you see the same people in the same places, but everyone always has something new to show you.
For example, last year, there was one big not-for-sale poop sign. This year, there were a lot of little $8 poop signs.
Oh, poop signs.
We'll get to that.
Yep. And, you know, some people have the same table in the same spot, old trusty, but some people, it's like a whole new person at a whole new table, and you go, oh man, look at this completely new thing. And you could it's weird because it's like we walk around for a few hours, and really, as great a convention as it is, it's still a comic convention, so it's pretty much look at all the tables, go home. You know, there's not really a reason to stick around. I mean, there are panels, but it's pretty much one panel at a time. So if there's one you really want to go to, then you should go to the convention when that one is happening. But you don't want to sit around and go to all of them. You'd be pretty bored eventually, unless you really, really liked all the panels, I guess. I don't know. I've never been to a panel at MoCCA, so I can't say. But anyway, it's like you go to all the rooms, and eventually after walking around all the rooms, you sort of feel like you've seen everything. Even though you haven't seen everything and you really can't see everything, you feel like you've seen everything, and you leave. But going year after year, it really becomes easier to see everything because a lot of stuff is like, I know everything you've got. I saw it last year. Yeah. But what was at the MoCCA were some pretty awesome things. Do you wanna talk about some of the awesome things?
Oh no, I figure we wouldn't even bother talking about the awesome things we saw at MoCCA.
Oh, okay.
I think first and foremost, we have to point out that Jason was there.
Yes.
And actually, we happened to find the place where Jason was going to be, and we found that Jason was going to be doing a signing. We discovered that the signing was going to take place in like 3 minutes.
So we just sort of stood there and we're looking around and
debating whether or not any number of the people we saw milling around were Jason.
Yeah, because basically there's a guy, he lives in France, but he's from Norway, right? I think he's from Norway. And he makes the comics that we love the most. And he came to the U.S. for this convention so awesomely. And we were like, oh man, we're going to see the Jason guy.
I mean, I think we reviewed Why Are You Doing This?
We should do an episode on all the Jasons together.
I think we're going to have to do a Jason episode.
That's what I'm saying. And we only know his name is Jason. And no one was wearing a name tag. But we knew it was at the Fantagraphics booth. And we knew that the Jason was doing a signing in like 10 minutes, so he couldn't be far away. And he wasn't sitting at the signing table at that moment. So we're like, is it that guy? I don't know. Is it that guy? I don't know. And I'm looking at all the Jason books they have available. And I said, I'm going to buy all the Jason books I don't have. The problem was I had pre-ordered a Jason book, but I did not know which one I had pre-ordered. And of the books on the table, there were 3 I did not own. And I was like, I know I've pre-ordered one of these. So we bought 2 of them, and we guessed wrong. So now we're going to have doubles of one of the books.
Which is perfectly fine.
And we have none of one of the other books.
I have so little to say about Jason that is not outright praise, if not hero worship.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, we bought... I forget which ones we bought, but we didn't buy The Last Musketeer, which is probably, by the cover, is a robot holding a dude. And that's the one. I didn't pre-order it, and I didn't buy it, so I need to get it.
I love the titles of his works because sometimes you watch, like Bokurano, the anime was a good example, where it's like the opening song or the title or something like that has a phrase, and then it has meaning after you've seen the whole work that you didn't expect or that is much more profound than I guess would have been warranted. Jason takes that.
That's how a title is supposed to be.
Not a lot of times it's not. I mean, Hamlet is about a guy named
Shakespeare
Hamlet.
wasn't about the titles. He wasn't he wasn't selling it on a shelf with a big title on the side. He was putting it in a theater. That was in a big circle.
All right, fine. I picked one example, but a lot of books like the title is but Jason's works, I mean, like the one that we picked up there that I read just recently, Hey Wait. That was
a good one.
That was really sad though.
It was.
But the coolest thing is Jason, this guy, I have so much respect for him, even more so now, because when he does a signing, he's not just like, hey, here's a signing, go away, next, hey, go away, next. He pretty much sat there and drew an entire picture for every single person in line.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like he got in his groove on some of the people in front of us, you know, and he would basically draw like one of the characters in his style because he does sort of like these anthropomorphic but not furry characters. You know, everyone's like a dog man or a crow woman or whatever.
I really like his style.
And he drew a little stuff around it, and then he would be like, he'd sort of smile at you. Well, after he was finished drawing, he would sort of like put it out in front of him and pull his head back and sort of like go, Yes, that is correct. Then he would like smile, and then he would like give it to you. And the thing, he was so like, it was weird because you read his comics and you try to figure out what kind of person he was. And I thought that he would be like an older kind of person, maybe sort of clever and kind of heh. But he was like relatively young, maybe 30 something, I guess. And he was all quiet and shy and not saying much.
He carries himself the way the characters in his works carry themselves.
That is true. Not very short on words, but
yet the words that are said are very meaningful. I didn't try to interview him or anything because he seemed very shy, but he's at the same time like, well, of course, Scott did something awesome, but Emily took hey, wait, hey, and he'd already been primed because of the way we talked to him a little bit. So he basically drew an entire new cover for Hey Wait inside of Hey Wait.
Yep. No, but I gave him instead of giving him one of the books we just bought, I gave him the pirate sketchbook and was like, draw a pirate. And then he drew a Jason pirate.
It was great because he stops and he's thinking for a minute and he's looking up. He's like, huh. And I think Sky's remarked, oh no, we made him think. And then he starts drawing a pirate. And the cool thing is when he sketches, he doesn't sketch. He's one of those people that's so rare where he just starts drawing and every line is exactly perfect.
Yeah, he just takes the pen, screw the pencil. He just takes the pen and he draws a line and then another line. I mean, like he thinks about each line before he draws it, and then he draws it like deliberately and correctly, but he just goes, The
coolest thing though is sometimes like he'll stop and he'll look at something and then you'll see him move the pen around over the paper without drawing and he'll go like, nope.
It's like he's making like these practice lines in the air.
Yep. And the funny, like he'll draw the character, and then especially with Scott's thing, because I think that was when he really got into his groove in terms of drawing for people. Because then he did the same thing for Emily, where he finishes the character, and then he stops, he looks at it, then he adds like a little thing, and then another little thing.
Hey, he draw like a little star, a little palm tree,
and then he's like cloud, tree, another cloud.
Yep, he just sort of started getting with the flavor, getting going on.
If nothing else, though, I'm very glad that we're not alone in our love of Jason, because the line was long and continuous for the 3 hours he was doing this?
Yeah, and I'm sure he came back the next day, and I think he had an event in Brooklyn on like Friday night, so...
I felt really bad. I don't remember who it was, the guy who had the spot next to him for that 3-hour interview block.
Yeah, there was a guy sitting next to him. What was the book that he was selling?
Belly button something?
Yes, it was something about the bottomless belly button or something like. Look it up. I'll go to the Fantagraphics website, but
it actually looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked really cool, and it was like this giant book, and it looked pretty impressive. But I didn't read it, and I wasn't about to pay for it, because it was so large and rather expensive for something I didn't know much about. But the guy seemed like a cool guy, and he was nice, and he was sitting next to Jason, with his belly button book, and he had no line. No one was coming to see him because, Jason was next to him, and it was like, oh, I feel bad for you, but I can't help you.
It was funny, though, because me, Scott, and Emily get up to Jason, and we're just like, we're paralyzed with schoolgirl giddiness, and we're like, we really like your works. They're so good.
Oh, man, there's a poll on the side of the Fantagraphics website. It says, which of your favorite of Jason's recent books?
All right, enough hero worship. Jason is great, and we got to meet him. He drew stuff for us. Scott should scan in the pirate picture.
I'll try. Oh, man, it's a tough vote here. 37 votes for I Killed Adolf Hitler, 37 votes for Left Bank Gang, 27 for Why Are You Doing This?
Why Are You Doing This is the best one.
I know. Living in the Dead, 13, Last Musketeer, 9, Meow Baby, 7.
All right, so anyway, the rest of MoCCA, they always break it up in the same kind of way where like there's one area where it's all the web comics and like the internet-y stuff.
Yeah, they got 3 rooms going on. There's the big room, there's sort of like the internet cool webcomic room, and there's the upstairs room, which was added last year. All right? And things are sort of thematically arranged a bit, like there's also the front room. The front room usually has the big publishers in it, except Top Shelf, which is they have the bar in the big room. And then in the big room is just sort of like all the indie people all around. And then the upstairs room is sort of like, it's sort of upstairs room is sort of like the quirky kind of room. It's like you got Vertigo, which is DC Comics up there. But you've also got like just a guy who's not even selling comics. It's just like art. And then you've got like the foreign comics up there. And in the front of the upstairs, you've got like this sketch area where you buy tickets, and then the famous people sit there and they'll sketch for you if you buy a ticket, and it's pretty cool. But anyway, so do you want to sort of go room by room, or do you want to go by what we bought, or how do you want to do this?
Let's just go by impressions, because I didn't buy a lot, but everything that I bought is absolutely high quality.
Well, one thing is last year I regretted it. I held back. I was like, I'm going to hold back. I'm only going to, because I was like, I'll pre-order it online. I'll hold back. This year I'm like, you know what? I'm not holding back. I'm going to buy. Because there's a lot of stuff at MoCCA you can't get, not at MoCCA. And, I held back less than last year, but still, I'm feeling like I didn't unleash enough. I should have bought more. I don't know. The thing is that if I buy more, I'll end up buying everything and I'll be poor. That's not a good thing.
See, very pointedly, I didn't carry a lot of cash on me.
I carried $300, but I didn't spend it all. Not even close. But I was pretty much just like, yeah, I'll buy it. Here's a 20. Good God.
Yeah, pretty much the one thing about the MoCCA, if you ever go to it, is that there is no way to go around in a group easily. You'll pretty much have to split up and then meet back periodically and talk about the things you saw.
You've got narrow aisles, you've got small tables, you've got multiple rooms, and you've got a crowd. You can't really go around with multiple people. You got to go around on your own looking at stuff.
Plus, especially if you want to go see something that is popular, it'll be a 4-foot-long table, and there'll be like 10 people desperately pushing to try to be in front of that table.
And they'll be blocking off the adjacent tables, because they'll be lining up horizontally, because you can't line up vertically. You'll just, the aisles are so narrow.
And of course, everyone's got a gigantic bag full of swag.
Yep. So you sort of go around, and when you bump into people you're like, hey, and then you sort of go, check out what I got. What's up? How you doing?
Yeah. So
the upstairs is kind of empty, though.
Well, the upstairs is a big ballroom, and it's a much different, it's more airy. People seem to go up there to chill. There's a lot more, I don't want to say lower level, but more like just starting out independent stuff up there.
Yep. We met a listener there.
Yeah, kind of randomly. It was a little bit of an ego stroke, but I'm standing there.
Well, it was an RIT person, so the ego isn't stroked that heavily.
It's still stroked anytime you're in a public place and you hear the words, "Excuse me, are you Rim?"
And Scott?
Of Geeknights? Oh man, I listened to your show. Oh my god, I can't believe you're here.
Yeah.
I forget what the guy's name was, but you were totally cool.
He was a cool dude. He was an RIT dude.
It's funny,
he knew what the score was.
He's like, yeah, RIT anime. And I was like, oh, so the later years, blah, blah. No, he was the early years. He was there from the administrations previous to us.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's like I fully expect someone who was on RIT the same time as us to found out about us, but someone who was there before us, it's sort of like, well, while there is the connection, it's like the connection wasn't so strong. How did they?
From what I've gathered, we're kind of legendary at RIT a little bit in that, like, the people in the anime club still by and large remember us, which is not altogether comforting.
No, not really, because we don't even know who's in the anime club anymore.
I meant the coming in administration.
All right. Anyway, okay, so let's start talking about some comics here. All right.
Yeah, because that's really the only way to go about this. I interviewed some people. I'll put some clips from random stuff that we didn't get a chance to read or review or anything yet at the end, just so you guys can get a, more well-rounded MoCCA picture.
All right, so Lyra, I'm going to start with this. This isn't even something I bought, but Chip Kid. Chip Kid is like the world-famous designer of book covers. That's, he does other things, but he's a super world-famous, mega-rich designer guy in New York. And if you read the Vertical mangas, he designs the covers on most of those. And he's awesome all around. He did a signing at the New York Comic Con, missed it. He did a panel at MoCCA. It was Sunday, we weren't there, right? But he's doing a thing called Bat Manga, the secret history of Batman in Japan.
I am so excited about this.
I was sort of iffy on it. I was like, do I really care? But no, I have the free pamphlet from Pantheon Books, right, about Bat Manga. It's like this, it's this pamphlet thing they were handing out at their booth for free, and that sort of gives you a sample of what this Bat Manga is going to be all about. And as soon as they handed me this pamphlet, I was like, oh, I am in desperate need of the Bat Mangas. Give me more, please. Yes, I want. And I don't even know what to say. I mean, you got Batman kicking a giant robot in the chest. You've got Batman, a toy of Batman sitting in a metal tank with 2 turrets on it. What else can I say? Good God, this is the awesomeness. The super awesomeness. Oh my God.
All right, so I have to talk about this because, one, I read the comic already. We'll probably review it at some point. But two, this person did such a good job of getting someone like me to read his comic. Like, this is a marketing success story as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, I normally buy comics based on the solicitations and the cover and the title, because you can't really pick out new comics any other way besides that, unless you go to the store and look through them. But when you go to, like, MoCCA, the people who make the comics can sell them to you. And if someone who happens to be a comic artist is an amazing salesperson, they will often sell a disproportionate number of their comic, usually to me, because I am very gullible when it comes to comic salespeople.
But anyway, Mike Dawson, I was walking around
Wait,
and I
Mike
see...
Dawson from...
No.
Albany?
I see this big statue of Freddie Mercury.
The kind of statue that you see in a comic book store that would cost like $300.
But usually those things are of Batman.
Yeah.
This one was of Freddie Mercury.
They sell those at comic book stores.
But I've never seen a statue of Freddie Mercury before.
I had seen that statue in the past.
Oh, well, I don't really go to comic book stores. But
know.
I've never seen a statue that big of Freddie Mercury other than...
It's like it's a 12-inch, I think, or 16-inch.
It was 16-inch.
All right.
So, of course, I walk over because I am a huge fan of Queen. And, of course, I am presented with Freddie and Me, a coming-of-age Bohemian Rhapsody.
See, this thing actually sort of surprised me because I sort of, like a month or two ago, I said, someone should make like a story or a comic or a movie about like someone who can channel the spirits of like old rockers that are dead, basically be possessed by John Lennon and play music and sing like John Lennon. Or
that's not what this is about.
I know that's not what that is about, but it's like, wow, it's sort of weird. I had an idea about,
Wait. So you're saying, wow, it's so weird that I had an idea and then a completely different idea was made into a comic.
No, it's a somewhat related, not in that these channeling spirits of dead rockers,
but in that it happens to involve Freddie Mercury.
But in that there's a rock and roll comic going on.
That's a bit of a stretch.
There's not a lot of rock and roll comics.
I feel like I'm getting a C. You were writing, I don't know, a comic or maybe a screenplay or a movie or a video game. Maybe you were writing a video game. I can cold read, you see. Anyway.
Mike Dawson. This is my book, Freddie and Me. It's about my obsession with the band Queen. Starts in 1984 with the song "I Want to Break Free," and it goes on up through to 2003 with the questionable taste musical they had in London, which I went to go and see, and that's where the book ends. But it also, like, the whole idea is that, like, it's a story about me moving from England to America. It's really a lot to do with memory and identity, but it's sort of a way to kind of hang the story on the structure of the Queen songs.
So Freddie and Me is not about Freddie Mercury. It is about Mike Dawson. It's an autobiographical comic about this guy and his life. And he talks a lot about memory and remembering things when you're a kid versus when you're an adult and perspective and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's good stuff.
It's just a good, stand-up, straight-up, laid-back comic autobiography. And he happens to use Freddie Mercury and Queen's music as kind of this running thread through it because he was a fan of Queen almost his entire life, and he was a fan of Freddie Mercury his entire life. So songs from Queen were very much linked with memories that he had, and that's kind of how he can remember all the events in his life is from these songs and this fandom. And of course, it's not on the cover, and you wouldn't get it until you actually read it, but it's also quite a bit about Wham.
Okay.
Yes. No, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I don't know much about Wham, so I might miss a lot of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you should read the history of Wham and
how about no?
Actually, you should, because you should see who came out of Wham. You'd be surprised. I don't think you realize the whole story there.
Maybe I'll read the Wikipedia.
It's worth it. But anyway, I read the whole thing, and this is what comics need more of. It is not a stereotypical comic, as in superhero whatever. It is just an autobiography that happens to be in comic form, and I think it suits the medium very well.
I got a lot of comic autobiographies. I got Fun Home. Have you read Fun Home?
I haven't read it yet.
I got a couple others, I think. I can't just... They're not coming to me right now.
I really, really enjoyed this. I'll review it at some point in more depth.
All right, I'll be reading that. All right, so check this out. There's a book called Skyscrapers of the Midwest by Joshua Cotter. I haven't read it yet, all right, so I can't say much about it. All I know is that I knew the book was awesome, and I knew I was going to buy it at some point, but it was only in a hardcover, so I didn't pre-order it, right? And I was waiting for some sort of soft cover action, but I'd never seen the book. At MoCCA, Josh Cotter was there, and I saw the book. As soon as I saw the book, I said, oh, yeah, just give me one of those.
Wait, you realize how often that would happen to me at the MoCCA in general? I walk up to a table, it's like, what's that? Oh, shit. And then I hand over a bunch of money.
So here, I'm gonna flip open this Skyscrapers of the Midwest, and I'm gonna pick something out of it. Let's see. I haven't read this yet, so I don't know. Let's see. The merit badge. There's a page here all about merit badges, and there's pictures of them, and there's descriptions next to each one. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna read 2 of these merit badges randomly. I did not prepare this in advance, by the way. So one of the merit badges is a picture of a bunny on it, and it says next to it, bunnies. Hunt the little bastards down. You are superior man. Tear off their heads, stuff them with sawdust, and mount them on varnished wood with deer antlers. It'll be hilarious. Okay. Shit taken. And the merit badge is a picture of a roll of toilet paper. Eat lots of salty junk food. Walk around in the woods in the middle of July with your stomach full of fatty, greasy crap and soda. Get sick and relieve yourself behind a tree. Have others watch. Okay.
All right, then.
All righty. That was this book really looks like it's a lot of random stuff. Like parts of it's comics, part of it's stuff like that. Part of it is like a giant robot picking up a house. Part of it is like pages from school yearbooks. It's really pretty interesting.
Well, that's one thing that's actually really cool about the MoCCA is that you'll run into a lot of really experimental stuff or just stuff that you've never seen a comic like this before, and you don't know what this even is.
It's like I haven't read this, so I can't say more, but just holding it and flipping through it and feeling it, I know this is quality. And at the table next to Joshua Cotter, there was another guy who was sort of sharing a table with him, and he didn't look that interesting, I'm going to be honest, but I don't want to insult him because, actually, I was very much lucky to notice him while I was there waiting for Josh Cotter to draw a little doodle in the front of he drew a little skull doodle in front of this, Skyscrapers of the Midwest. But what's this guy's name? Did he write his name in his book? Did he not? Oh, here we go. Joey Weiser. There we go. Tragic-planet.com. On his table was a little book called Cavemen in Space. How can you not buy that?
I don't know. That's the problem. Half the things I see is, how can you not buy that? Like, remember Teen Boat? I bought Teen Boat because of that exact same feeling last year.
How can you not buy Teen Boat?
I should have bought the Teen Boat shirt. I forgot to, and then we left.
Teen Boat. Yeah, this Cavemen in Space is a little tiny mini comic, and you could probably buy one from Joey Weiser. I don't know how else you're going to get it, because it's not like something that's going to be in comic book stores, but it's a little full-color, well-printed mini comic, actually, and I got some chuckles from this. I mean, you basically have cavemen in space, and a robot gets loose, and they fight the robot. And just sort of like, the plot itself, not so great. It's pretty straightforward. But the characters, even though there's maybe 10 pages in this thing, and the little tiny jokes, involving the characters were quite humorous. I'm glad I bought the Cavemen in Space. It gives me sort of a Space Wolf kind of vibe.
I was about to say, when you introduced the concept, all I could think of was, what's the guy's name? Ansabel?
I don't know. Ansabel?
Whatever his name was. He did Space Wolf. He was the thing of the day. The last duet on Earth, all that.
All right. You got anything else over there?
Well, speaking of short comics or things like that where you just have to buy it for the concept alone. Remember last year when I bought Prison Comics and they were utterly hilarious?
Oh, that was 2 years ago, but yeah, they were awesome.
Well, it was in the past, previous MoCCA. I could not find Prison Comics this year.
Oh.
But Scott found something. So similar, short comic book about a very specific thing. And it was $1?
Oh, it was $1. You are correct.
What exactly was it called?
Are you referring to the Diarrhea Diaries?
I might be.
Yeah, see, the thing that this has in common with the prison stories is that it's a comic consisting of multiple short, true stories, just sort of expressed in comic form for humor's sake.
This is a genre, I guess, that you see a lot of at things like the MoCCA. There's a lot of people who have like little 7-page stapled together 25-cent comics.
Yep. It is $1, and it's basically... Here, let me read the front, right? The front page is a picture, and it's of this guy, and it's the guy who made the comic. He's sitting on a toilet with his pants on around his ankles, and he says, "Hi, my name is Phil. Throughout my life, I had problems with my bowel movements happening at inopportune times, and I've crapped myself a lot. I'm sure most of you have stories as well. Do you have enough to fill a book? So sit back and relax, and I hope you have as much fun reading my tales of gastric woe as I've had making them."
That line at the end is what we had to buy it.
And basically, in this book are, in comic form, 3 or 4 tales of gastric woe. And my favorite one is the second one that doesn't actually involve diarrhea. The second one does not involve diarrhea.
The second one is definitely the best one.
But it is...
Because many of you, it seems like this is more a, I guess, stereotypically guy thing, but many of you have been in this situation before, I'm sure, or know someone who has been in this situation before, or been in the situation of the second guy introduced in that comic.
Yeah, it is quite... I'm glad... This is $1. $1. It was totally worth Diarrhea Diaries. Thank you. Let's see. Phil, let's see. Oh, no. Phil Miarmi is the story. Aaron De La Rosa and Mark Griffin did the artwork. I think this is issue 1. Is going to be an issue 2? Good go. Oh, man, I'm in for that. For $1? I'll buy that for $1.
All right, so Sun Yen Fai Lak, motherfuckers.
Oh, shit.
I haven't even read this yet, so I can't endorse it, but the concept alone and also talking to the guy was enough for me to buy it. Now, the thing is, Scott actually pointed it out because he thought it was something else.
Yeah, I'm just looking around, and I see from far away some letters on a comic that's standing up, and I thought it said...
Killing the Quartermaster.
Killing the Quartermaster.
Which it kind of looks like from a distance.
Yeah, and I'm like, ooh, Killing the Quartermaster. I'm in. Walk this way.
But no, it is Killing Tree Quarterly by Keith McCleary. And it is a multicultural comic in the Wild West with a Chinese assassin, a Native American, a black dude, and a woman who's a former prostitute who go around killing people.
Yeah, it's because back in the Wild West... Pretty much anyone but white man was persecuted. So you got white woman, Native American, Chinese dude, and black guy. And you just make them badass heroes going around killing everyone. And I read this, and it was pretty awesome.
I didn't read it yet, but talking to the guy sold me on it.
The guy was a really good salesman. He was a really energetic, happy dude. He was really good at pushing his comics, so we totally bought it.
Hey, my name is Keith McCleary. And I'm here at MoCCA. I'm doing it with a book called Killing Tree Quarterly, which is a 50-page book about multicultural assassins working their way along the California coast in the late 1800s. And so it's a Native American, a Chinese American, a retired hooker, and the son of a European and a black slave that are all working together.
So is this your first big published work? Have you done anything before?
Yeah, I've been working on this for about a year and a half, and it's the first thing that I ever did. I originally was just a writer, and I did graphic design work, and I didn't know what to do about doing art for a comic, and then a couple years ago I found out about software called Poser, which is 3D software. And so I do the book, all the characters are built in 3D, and then the book's put together in Photoshop, so pen never touches the page.
Oh.
Yeah.
So where did the inspiration for this kind of idea come from?
Well, I was originally a film student and was trying to figure out how to do a first feature. And when you're trying to figure out how to do a first feature, it's got to be you and your friends and what you did yesterday. And I really wanted to do something multicultural and something that was not in the present. And when I thought about doing something multicultural, I didn't want it to be kind of like a fake rainbow kind of thing like Barney and Friends. And so it was, what could I do that was historical? And I thought of the Old West. And so I did a lot of research. I have some friends in San Francisco, so I went around to the museums there because I knew that's where the story would start. And yeah, it kind of went from there. So originally it was going to be self-published, and then I hooked up with Terminal Press, who are out of Long Island. And I was doing some work for them, and all of a sudden they said, "Do you really want to self-publish?" And I said, "No." So I'm doing some more work for them this year that's going to be coming out of San Diego Con.
So how's the reception so far? You think this is being...
I think it's cool. I feel that the books that I like are always... nobody has told me about them. I go and I find them. And everybody that wanders over the table, it's like they didn't see anything else. They saw that book, and then they walk away really fast. So I think I'm honing into the kind of book that I would want to read, which is what you want to do when you're making stuff.
All right, so what else did we find?
So First Second, is a company that publishes comics. They publish things like American-Born Chinese. They publish Klezmer. They publish Laika. They publish a lot of good books. And they sort of have like this unique publishing format that they put out all their books in, and I really like it. So they publish Robot Dreams, which I own. So of course I went to their table, and what did they have there? But they had Prince of Persia, and I'm like, Prince of Persia? And I'm wondering, is this related to the video game? Because it doesn't look like the video game. Are they just making something called Prince of Persia? What's the deal? But it is indeed licensed from the video game, but it's not actually looking like the video game or directly related to the video game. It's basically like, hey, we'll license Prince of Persia and then make something that is not, like just a direct port to comic form. We'll actually just take the concept of Prince of Persia and make a comic.
That's a pretty good idea.
And I've got this little preview book here, right, that sort of samples the Prince of Persia. And I am buying the Prince of Persia, no questions asked. I can tell you that much. Everyone should buy the Prince of Persia comic when it is available. It'd be well worth your money if you are liking princes or Persia.
I'm a big fan of Persians.
Yeah, but here, check it out. Let's see, Prince of Persia, a publishing event, $100,000 marketing campaign, 125,000 copy first printing, national consumer media advertising. There's going to be a movie on June 16th, 2009. Jerry Bruckheimer, directed by Mark Newell and distributed by Disney. Tie-in marketing with the new video game in October 2008. Dedicated website and book trailer. They're pushing this thing pretty big. You will not be able to miss the Prince of Persia comic when it comes. And you don't want to either. So Prince of Persia, First Second also is an excellent publisher. You can buy anything they print. Odds are it's going to be good. If nothing else, get American-Born Chinese and Laika and Klezmer. Those three.
I'll warn you, I've only read one of these so far. I have to read the rest. But Laika, I often say that something is a tearjerker or that it made me cry. Laika was that times like 50.
Yeah. Klezmer, I think, is the best of those. But the other ones are no slouches. And can't go wrong with First Second publishing. And it's funny because it's sort of like it's a very good pun, the name of the publisher. It's like First Second, right? FIRST space SECOND. And their logo is a colon followed by a 0 and a 1. So it's like the First Second, but also first, second, third. I like it.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to mention this at least briefly. But Hairville looks pretty damn good based on what I saw. I don't have it. I haven't read it, but I think it'll be good.
My name's Barry Deutsch. I'm a cartoonist from Portland, Oregon. This is my comic Hairville. I consider it one of the top 3 or 4 comics about 11-year-old Orthodox Jewish girls you'll find at this entire show. The comic's about Mirka. She's a girl being raised in a very traditional Jewish community. But what she wants to do is fight dragons. And it's about the magical adventure she has. Hairville has been nominated for a Russ Manning Award this year for Best Comic Book by a Newcomer. And it's about 57 pages long, and you can view it at www.hairville.com.
So is this your first major published work? Have you done anything before, independent projects?
Well, I've been a political cartoonist for many years, but this is my first comic book, or my first one that's been gotten this far. And this is actually self-published for now. And it's available in 2 editions, the basic edition and the way overpriced edition.
To read from something said about this by the Webcomics Examiner, the story is leisurely and steeped in cultural tradition. Even troll killing must wait until after Shabbat rituals.
Okay.
This actually, I like the style of it.
Shabbat?
I don't know. I'm not Jewish.
Shabbat. Shabbos.
Well, when I think Shabbat, I think of the robot.
That's the robot's name is a pun.
Okay.
It's supposed to be.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, that sounds pretty cool to me. Another thing is, check this out, right? Oni Press, which also publishes all awesome comics, including Scott Pilgrim, among others, right? Okay, so the Oni Press, they published this book a while ago called Side Scrollers, and the problem was the timing of the release of this book. You see, It was at a point in time where I had recently purchased such comics as Aliens vs. Cowboys and Pirates vs. Ninjas, and been disappointed in buying comics, and also one called Random Encounter. And I was disappointed in the results of buying comics based on the title. So they came out with one called Side Scrollers, and I said, I am not falling for this again. I was a fool, because they came out with this other comic called Saltwater Taffy, The Seaside Adventures of Jack and Benny. And I pre-ordered it, and I had it in my hands. And when I went to MoCCA, I was walking around, and I saw it on a table. And behind that table was a man wearing a Centipede t-shirt. His name was Matthew Lux, and he was the creator of the Saltwater Taffy and also the creator of the Side Scrollers comic. And I had not, at the time, I had not read the comic. But we talked to him, and he was really cool. And I got home, and I read the Saltwater Taffy comic, Seaside Adventures of Jack and Benny, and I must say, the lobster action is perfection. It is the awesomeness and the fun. It's pretty much two kids go on vacation to the beach, and awesome happens with giant lobsters. I don't know how that isn't like a perfect sale of a comic. And plus, from a man wearing a Centipede t-shirt, how can you say no?
Hey, this is Matthew Lux. I'm doing comics with Oni Press. I just had the book that just came out this month, Saltwater Taffy. It's an all-ages book starring two kids, Jack and Benny, who are on vacation with their family in a small, mysterious port town in Maine. And it's about all the different adventures that they get into, involving sea monsters, ghosts, different ghost stories, and giant animals. And it's a lot of fun, and it's going to be a series. The next one's coming out in September.
All right, so how did you get into comics? Did you always want to be a comic artist? Did you just fall into it?
I did until I went to school. Then I wanted to be an illustrator. And then when I graduated, I realized I think I want to do comics again. So I kind of had to reinvent my entire portfolio. And eventually I was able to land, I did a couple minis, and I hooked up with Oni Press, and I did my first book, F-Stop, which was written by Anthony Johnston of Wasteland fame. And after that, I was able to pitch my own stories with Oni, and they totally went for it. And we've done 2 books. My first book was Side Scrollers, which did pretty well, and it made the top 10 list of greatest graphic novels for teens for the YALSA American Library Association.
So I can't help but notice the shirt. Now, our show, we're Geeknights. We talk about very geeky things. Now, are you a geek?
Oh yeah, I definitely would admit that.
So, video games, anime, manga, like what geekeries are yours? What are your non-drawing hobbies?
I like to get into a little bit of, I used to be a big video game fan, hence my Centipede t-shirt. I haven't really been able to get into games quite as much because I'm a little too busy doing comics right now. But I do like to play the occasional game. I'm down a few systems though. My only system I have right now is a PS2, so I'm a little behind.
Speaking of a perfect sale, we're walking around, and suddenly we see these boxes, little boxes, not big enough to be like what you would expect them to be, but they have the cover of Splatterhouse 3 on them. So I'm like, all right. So we walk up and we're like, what's in those boxes? Are they for sale? And they say, yes, they're for sale. And they open one up, and inside it, of all things, are cassette tapes. So we're like, all right, you've shown us more information, yet you have elucidated nothing. So they explained. So we couldn't help but notice the cassette tapes in the Splatterhouse 3 box. So
I'm Connor Steckschulte. This is our band Witch Hat. It's our new tape. It's called Melancholy and the Witchetty Hatness. We're pretty interested in obsolete media, I guess. I think we're going to be putting out a VHS tape pretty soon.
All right, so Top Shelf, right? They always have the bar in the giant room every year, right, to set up their little display. They actually have so much stuff now. They had to put Andy Runton, the Owly guy, down at like a separate table because they couldn't fit him up there with everything else. Because he's got the hats and he's got the the plushies and everything going on. It's crazy. But Top Shelf was handing out their seasonal sampler, which is pretty high quality. It's like this giant thing with a sample of pretty much all the Top Shelf goodies. And the cover of said seasonal sampler is drawn by someone you may be familiar with from Geeknights episode pasts. You see, it is drawn by Mr. Jeff Lemire of the Essex County fame.
See, I was going to bring him up because we actually talked to him too.
So it's a trilogy of books, and they're all set in the small town where I grew up in Canada. And it's sort of the setting, the town itself is a real place, and the characters and the stories are fictionalized. And I guess over the course of the 3 books, we sort of get to know one family in this town, and I think we go through 4 different generations of one family and kind of see reoccurring themes and relationships that affect later generations and so on. It's, sort of a generation-spanning family epic.
So I guess you personally are a hockey fan?
I am indeed, yes. I'm a big hockey fan. I'm a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is where I live. Who unfortunately are pretty terrible, but, I'll stick by them. And I grew up in near Windsor, which is across from Detroit, so there's always a battle between the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs for fans there.
I'm actually from Detroit. Turns out he's a hockey fan, if you couldn't have guessed.
Oh, gas. No. So we were basically sitting there looking. We're like, the Essex County. There it is. And then Jeff Lemire, he's just like, yep, there it is. And we're like, oh, you're the guy. That happens at MoCCA a lot, is because you realize at most comic conventions, right, you're buying comics from like a comic book store who's set up. So when you buy a comic, you're not buying it from the person who made it. You're buying from a guy who sells comics.
But at the MoCCA, not only will you oftentimes hand your money to the author or the artist, but they will sign everything like as a matter of course.
Yeah, it's like I'll just take something and give them money, and they'll be like, do you want me to sign that or something? I'm like, oh, if you want to, I guess, Sure, go ahead.
I really like being at this thing.
Yeah, so it's like you just be looking at something and then, oh, you're Jeff Lemire. How do you do? How's Canada these days? No, but Jeff Lemire has all sorts of awesomeness going on. First of all, he had the 3rd volume of Essex County. There was a preview of it sitting there.
I'm real excited about it.
Excited about that. He also had these 2 little mini comics that were like these tiny stories from Essex County.
They're really good.
Did you read them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The boxing one I like the most.
Yeah, I also greatly enjoyed the boxing one.
It's weird. Reading that little comic kind of made me want to box.
Boxing's all right.
You want to get into boxing?
Not really.
Oh, come on.
I like teeth.
Let's box.
I like teeth.
You wear the mouth guard.
That doesn't help.
Yes, it does. You won't lose your teeth.
People lose their teeth anyway.
We wouldn't lose our teeth in the kind of boxing we would be doing.
Why do hockey players have missing teeth? They wear,
There's a difference between a fist that's padded and a puck.
No, you lose teeth. Anyway. So yeah, Jeff Lemire the awesome. All right, I'm running. I got a few little bits here, right? So a while back, Image Comics put out this comic called Parade with Fireworks, and it was like this really, it was this really realistic sort of story of mafia in, Italy. It was really kind of hardcore and awesome, but I only got the first issue, and it was only a 2-issue thing, so I wasn't waiting for a trade. I was waiting for the second issue, and the second issue never showed up. I never saw it listed for pre-order. I might have missed it, who knows, but I never got it. I knew there were only 2 issues because the first one said 1 of 2, and I was desperate for that 2. Walking around the MoCCA, I saw that 2 sitting on a table, and I said, give me that. I want that. And the guy who made it, though, he wasn't there. He was there, but he wasn't there when I was there. So the guy who shared the table with him took the money for it, and, I took the comic, and it was everything I lived up to. So if you can find Parade with Fireworks, the guy's name is not on the front. I'm not going to open it now to find out, but Parade with Fireworks from the Image Shadow line is totally awesome, and everyone should read it. But it's the only way you can get it is to get the 2 issues. So do whatever you can. You're going to have to find a comic book store to help you out or something.
So one thing I ended up picking up and reading pretty quickly at all this was something called Emiko Superstar.
Oh, that's from Jinx, which is actually DC.
Yes, and this is another thing where I kind of want to actually review it because
we should. I'll read it.
It's by Mariko Tamaki with Steve Rolston, and all I want to say is that I read it and it's super, super good.
See, I was thinking about pre-ordering it, right? Because it was on the most recent, pre-order. I think you still have time to pre-order it actually if you haven't, pre-ordered yet. But I was sort of like, I don't know, maybe, because I was going based on the name.
But at the con, they were giving it away for free.
Yeah, so I don't know if what we got for free is the same thing that I would have bought. I think it is.
Well, here's the thing. We went up and someone in our party was like, hey, yeah, it's free. We walk over. They're like, no, it's not free. But it turned out it's not free because they ran out.
Uh-huh.
And then she was so nice to just give it to us to read.
Nah, all right, that's cool.
But yeah, it was super, super, super good, and I rather enjoyed it. I think it has a lot to say.
All right, it's the only 2 other things I got here, right? First, this thing, Rim, look.
I'm so about that.
All right, so check this out. There's a book. We saw just the graphical style of the cover of this book totally sold us. It's called Fragment, and it's by John Lang. And on the cover is like a dude with a hat covering his face, like a little sort of fedora hat, and like a giant coat. And he's obviously some sort of spy dude.
We actually did interview the guy. I'm not going to play it because it was pretty much, hey, so what do you make a comic about spies? And he's like, yeah, I like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
He didn't really say much, but I don't know. I feel like we almost pressured him into doing it because we're like, hey, you want an interview? He's like, okay.
Actually, the universe that this world takes place in is actually super interesting. It's like there's like technology, but the people can't get their hands on it. So there's like people who are like foraging for technology, and it's pretty cool stuff. I would definitely like some sort of role-playing game in the Fragment world. The only other book I got here is The Claws Come Out by Pat Lewis. It is Astounding Tales of Broads and Monsters.
Hey, this is Pat Lewis. My book is The Claws Come Out from IDW. It is Astounding Tales of Broads and Monsters. Women and monsters, my two favorite things to draw and to write about. So you can get the book in bookstores, Amazon, from my website, lunchbreakcomics.com.
It's Astounding Tales of Broads and Monsters.
What else can we say?
I opened it up, and I was flipping through it, and I decided to buy it when I saw a picture of a chained-up velociraptor indoors with a girl next to it with her hand on its shoulder, I guess, and she says, "Let's go for a ride, Junior." If you like broads and monsters.
You like broads.
And it's a very sort of like slick, sort of cartoony style. It's not quite Penny Arcade-ish, but it's similar in a way. I'm definitely all about this comic. Haven't read it yet, but I will read it very, very soon. And I can tell it's going to be awesome. Oh, let me read the inside of the cover. A teenage girl runs into some unexpected visitors walking home after a date. An apathetic scientist works late defrosting the abominable snowman. A naive blood donor dates a rageaholic vampire. A downer-luck fortune teller inadvertently sparks a zombie epidemic. And it's all played for laughs.
Also, of all the business cards, because, these sorts of things, because we go around kind of half as press, half as fans, I end up with a lot of business cards. And I usually look at them like a month later, forget who was what, and throw them all away. I think of all the business cards I have sprawled out across my desk right now, Pat Lewis has the best one. It's a picture of a businessman lighting his cigar with money, and it's just the style is so perfect.
I don't know. The John Lang, his business card is pretty freaking cool. Like this tennis playing girl he's got on it, pretty hot.
Actually, I've got both of them in front of me, so yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got like a James Bond on the other side.
But I guess the last little bit, I swung by the Wondermark people, who were wonderful, and I bought the
Well,
poop.
it's the Wondermark guy. What's his name?
I don't even know.
I keep forgetting.
I read Wondermark, however. I found out about Wondermark at a previous MoCCA.
Dave Malky, that's it.
For the longest time, before I actually went to the comic, I just assumed the comic was called Poop Jokes in Top Hats. No, it turns out that the comic is Poop Jokes in Top Hats, but it is called Wondermark.
Yeah, I mean, we at the first MoCCA, we passed by him and we took his little Poop Jokes in Top Hats flyer, but I didn't actually start reading it till quite a time later.
Yes, but he had stop signs. They're just normal stop signs made of metal, but they say poop instead of stop. So of course I bought one, and of course it is at face level in front of the toilet in the downstairs bathroom.
You got to be able to get that off the wall if we move out.
We can get it off the wall. It's just two-way tape.
It's all you.
It's no big deal.
All right.
All I got to say is you got to stop and you got to poop when that sign is there. And I tried the sign out right when I got home, and it worked.
Did you stop pooping?
I stopped and then I pooped. You see, if the sign worked, there's different ways it could work. If it caused you to stop pooping, then anyone who sees it is kind of like an eternal curse. But at the same time, if it causes you to stop and then poop, putting it in the bathroom is really the only safe place to put it. Otherwise, you might be in the next diarrhea comics.
The sign is obviously designed to be put in bathrooms. I mean, come on.
I don't know. I feel like I would like to have that sign just on my front door.
Nah.
I don't know. Of course, you could turn it upside down. Now it says dude.
No.
It does.
It spells dude incorrectly.
It spells it in leet.
It says dude. Dude.
But the other thing I did is at the last MoCCA, I bought what is now one of my favorite T-shirts, which is "A wizard has turned you into a whale." Is this awesome?
Oh, I bought a T-shirt too.
I bought pretty much the exact same T-shirt, but instead it shows a picture of a boat, and in classic text adventure style, it just says "Take boat."
It's a giant boat.
But I gotta tell you, I don't know what it is about these shirts, but they fit my style so well.
Yeah. I bought a shirt. It's a green shirt, and it was associated with a webcomic. I think it was a Dumbrella webcomic, but I'm sorry. And the reason I bought the shirt is not because of any relation to the webcomic, but because the shirt on its own merits, it had a picture of a trilobite, a cartoony, cute trilobite, which, I love them trilobites, wearing a graduation cap, and it said, "Old school." It's my new favorite shirt.
I can't believe you didn't buy the Teen Boat shirt. I can't believe I didn't buy the Teen Boat shirt.
I could have bought the Teen Boat. I'm waiting for a Teen Boat trade. Come on, Comics Bakery, Teen Boat trade.
But one last thing. I remember last time we talked about how Indie Spinner Rack had their awesome party.
Yeah,
after
we
the
went to it
MoCCA.
last year.
They had it this year, and I'm holding the kind of ticket/invitation in front of me, but it's cool because one, they were there and those guys are awesome, but the party was later than it was last year, and we had Ananth and Yuko and a bunch of other people with us, so we didn't really want to stay in the city super late, and this year the Indie Spinner Rack party started at 9 p.m.
Too late.
So, but the cool thing is, the guy walks up to me. He's like, "Yeah, I don't see Scott around. You guys probably aren't going to come because it's so late, and I know you have to take your train, but just in case, here you go." And I was like, "Yeah, we're probably not going to make it, but we really want to be there."
Yeah. Which guy was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember any of their names. I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Well, it was the guy with the face like this, wearing the shirt like this, who talks like this, as opposed to the guy with the face like this and the hair like this."
I just wish because I was looking for some of those guys around.
I
the
ran
con.
into like all the Indie Spinner Rack guys who were there when you weren't around.
Yeah, it's
and
like-
they all like scattered when you appeared.
Yeah, it's like I didn't. I missed him. All right. Yeah. What else is going down there?
I don't know. I feel like we should end. This was kind of a rambling review of MoCCA.
Well, that's how MoCCA is. It's sort of a rambling place. You got all these different things.
I got one more thing I got to review. The cookies you can buy in the snack area of MoCCA are
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, they're all right. Yeah, the thing with MoCCA is it really is, going to MoCCA feels sort of like this episode feels. There's all these different little things vying for your attention. You're not there for very long, but there's all this awesome concentrated. It's just like awesome, a different awesome, a different awesome, a different
It is
awesome,
very
a different
difficult
awesome. Go home.
to decide to walk table by table through anywhere. Just because of the way the crowd is, you'll pretty much wander around and things will catch your eye. And kind of like in Mike Dawson's Freddie and Me, your memory of MoCCA will be this haze with these bright spots kind of interspersed throughout.
Yep. And MoCCA is totally awesome. It's fun to go every year. It was just as fun this year. In fact, I think it was the best one yet. I'll be going back next year for sure.
Almost definitely.
100%. Buying more awesome comics. And maybe we helped you find out about some not so mainstream comics that actually might be hard for you to get. Sorry.
And I guess we'll end it on the interviews that I grabbed that were worth listening to that I didn't bother thinking of a better place to put. So here they all are. So we're here with...
Hillary Tisman from Pantheon Graphic Novels, and we're really excited about My Brain is Hanging Upside Down by David Heatley, which is this kind of graphic memoir all about everything you wanted to know about him and even some stuff you might not have, but it's still totally quirky and really interesting. And Bat Manga, which is the secret history of Batman in Japan, complete with toys. So both out in October, check them out.
So you're at the MoCCA Festival here. How are things going? What's the vibe of the crowd? How is it?
They all seem really excited. They keep telling us they already own our books, which I guess is a good thing, but, we want them to buy a little more. So far, so good. No complaints.
Yeah, I'm doing a book for DC Vertigos that I think is going to be released in spring of '09. Bob Schreck's my editor, and it's called The Nobody. And it's sort of a loose play on the Invisible Man character from the H.G. Wells novel, but I kind of have him sort of hiding out in one of my little rural communities and interacting with townsfolk. So that's kind of what it's about. Yeah.
All right, my name's Tom Motley. I do cartooning and illustration. My book here today is called Twilight of the Bums. It's written by Raymond Fetterman, and George Chambers, who are a couple of avant-garde novelists who emerged in the 60s. And they did this jam story of microfictions about two old bums, which stand for the two of them. They share a shadow in common. I drew some illustrations in the margins, and the shadow represents me, the silent voice in the thing. So there's cartoons in the margins of every page, and it's a very nice book from Start Your Own Books. I hope you'll all check it out, www.startyourown.com. My other book is the new issue of my series True Fiction. I've got True Fiction number 7, subtitled Ink Mathematics, and it has a lot of my experimental work over the years. Work with the group Ubapo America and other related experiments. It's all structural, formalist stuff, but don't be put off by it. It's funny. It's all like whimsical and silly, and hope someone will check it out. My website is tmotley.com, and you can probably track it down that way.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.